Hey, this is Tim Pierce. Robert Baker joins us this week. He has a series of videos that are always really, really popular called I'm Done Buying Guitars. And of course, there's always another one, but he's very choosy about these and he takes a long time. And when he gets them, they become his dream guitars. We're going to look at 3 of those. And he talks about something. The Fenders have names inside of them. The guy who made that guitar's name is inside. And it made me think, my dream guitars are different. They're generally new. I have some vintage guitars, but as you guys know, I favor the new ones. I know the guys who make my dream guitars. I know Take Hang. He's been here. He comes and visits. I know Tom Anderson. I've known him forever. I know Paul Reed Smith almost as long as Tom. These are the guys that make my guitars, and I know them, and I feel very fortunate for that. Click the link below for the online masterclass. There's a 14-day free trial, so you can check it out and see if it's right for you.
We fell in love with finding out about the guitars and researching them, and it just kind of added. It was a happy accident, that happened with them, and I was like, oh man, this is great, and I loved it because I'm just a fan of guitar.
Which of the 3 guitars we're looking at today? Which one came first?
But it's funny. It was kind of when we were talking. That's my Les Paul, and it was like the dream guitar. I didn't know that was a dream guitar. Again, my wife found it. A state away from us, and she was just asking me about what do you think of this guitar? I was like, oh my god, it looks beautiful. I've had this one for 6 years now, so it was kind of funny. Like I said, we bought it from a Guitar Center. It's all kind of scratched up now from me, but the only reason it had just showed up, so I got lucky that I even saw it because it's a KM Les Paul. So it means Kalamazoo model. Right when Gibson was switching to Nashville, they made this special run of guitars. So there's only 1,500 of these that were made in '79 that have the double cream T-tops.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because DiMarzio sued Gibson over it and won, and Gibson had to stop making them. Anyways, so they made this, and it was just kind of like a weird Les Paul from the 70s. So this one's a 79, and it's like all the things that people hated about 70s Les Pauls. It doesn't have any of those things. It has it's like the good one that people think of, and I love it. And it doesn't sound like a Les Paul. It just sounds. It's really bright. It sounds like a Telly.
Ah, that's great. This is my favorite one. It's a reissue from Wildwood Music. It wasn't the most expensive custom shop model because it has a mismatched top. Check it out. It took me a while to get used to it. But I think it's really beautiful, and there are some great Les Pauls historically that have mismatched tops. I put Tyson tone pickups in it, so it kind of improved the sound of it. It's glassy, it's bell-like, but it has lots of mid-range, lots of clarity. It's exactly kind of what you want a Les Paul to sound like, I think.
This is always my go-to guitar when I'm trying to do anything pagey at all. I'm like, I have to use this guitar, and it gets that sound so good.
I have a friend who has a Jimmy Page reissue model with the push-pull knobs, and you really can get a lot of those kind of skinny tones that you hear on some of the records, on some of the parts that he played. It's a pretty great system. I heard you say that one is heavy, right?
Oh, it's. I have a custom, like you said, and it's heavy, but this one is I want to say we weighed it. I think it was 12 or 13 pounds.
That's insane. That's like a size 14 foot or shoe or something.
Yeah, this is the stuff astronauts take to the moon. That way they can stay held onto the moon with no gravity. It's so heavy.
That's awesome. Well, I love the way it looks too. It's a cool sunburst. I really dig it.
It was a surprise that it quickly just became my number one. And after all, a bunch of guitars in the past 6 years, it's still when I think of what's my guitar, I'm like, it's got to be that Les Paul. It just has songs in it.
Well, do you have any tricks to tuning? Does it just stay in tune by itself?
What I found that helped, I forget who it was a tech that told me on the G. So what I do is when I string it up, I string above the wind so it changes the break angle. And I don't know if that helps.
Dude, that's a great tip. String above
so,
the wind. Great.
Yeah. So how you normally wherever the string enters, everyone always wraps it underneath. He's like, no, on the G, wrap above it, and it'll stay in tune. So
that's a great tip. Thank you. Tell me about your Stratocaster. How long have you had that one?
I actually got this one back in December, right before the end of 2019. So a recent dream guitar.
Well, and did you hunt hard for it? Did you look far and wide?
Yeah, actually. So this one, I've been playing for like 15 years, and probably the past 13 years, a 63 Strat has been my like ultimate, dream guitar. Basically, I was going to get a Strat, and then that one, something happened. We needed to put a roof on our house, so I had to kind of like bail out and not get this other 63. I was like, man, that was my dream guitar, and it was such a bummer. But it's just kind of like life happens situation. And then it turned out I was able to get this one a few months later. I was going to get the other one, and this one just caught my eye. A guy named Jim got this guitar brand new in 63 when he was 15. He had it with him. It was painted. He painted it black at one point and stripped all the paint off of it. But it's still all original pickups, all that kind of stuff. And he was just telling me stories about how he had it. He moved to California from Ohio, and he lives like 40 minutes from me. That's what's really crazy. So he took it with him to California. He's telling me about seeing Hendrix and Santana and like early Van Halen, all this stuff. And then he moved back to Ohio, and then he sold it because they needed a roof. Again, I didn't buy one because I needed a roof. He sold his because he needed a roof. And it just happened that enough time went by, and right whenever it was crazy coincidence. And the guy he sold it to refinished it, and he listed it, and I saw it and bought it. And like I said, it's this big long thing. I'll get too long winded about it, but it like literally blew my mind. The like coincidences, how everything lined up.
That video is on my channel from the Floyd Rose interview I did a few months back. I haven't known Floyd that long, but he makes a dream guitar also. He took that one back and gave me this one. It has a half speed plate, so you can really dig in down here, and then you can get your speed going over here because it kind of rises up right there. I also like the rosewood neck a lot. All of these guys have different levels of manufacturing. Tay Kang makes the guitars by himself, by hand. You'll see it on his website when you see the one room he works in. Floyd Rose has a small operation. Tom Anderson has about 18 people. They do 900 guitars a year. Every guitar is sold before it leaves the factory floor. Same thing with PRS, but with a much bigger factory, 350 employees. And these guys, I love the way they make guitars because they're all like Lamborghinis and Ferraris. I've said this before. They all kind of play themselves. Let me ask you this. Is it a big adaptation for you to switch from a Fender scale to a Gibson scale? Because it kind of is for me. It takes me a minute. Gibson scales are easier on my hands, the shorter. And it takes me a minute to get hold of a Fender and get strong.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people say like it doesn't bother them at all. I find I'm the most comfortable on a Fender scale, but as soon as I go to Gibson, I'm like clunky for a few minutes because my fingers are just kind of like hitting weird. I'm like, oh, it's funny. Like after like 4 or 5 minutes, I get it, and I'm like back at it. But at first, yeah, I'm totally more clunky when I play a Les Paul, which I always view them more as like riff guitars anyway. So I can kind of have the little bit of a grittier playing, I guess, on it, but.
It is amazing how guitars change you. Every guitar you play changes you. And sometimes I'll listen to something I did on a guitar that was a fight, that I had to fight to play, and I actually kind of like it better. Because my problem is I have too much polish a lot of the time because that's what was required of me in the studio for so long. Get it perfect now. Perfect now. Smooth. Take out all the blemishes. And when I play a guitar that I have to fight with, I actually become a more interesting guitar player, even though I sometimes I have to listen afterwards to realize that. This is a 65 SG. It's very new to me. I've had it for a couple of months. Devalued heavily by player grade modifications that make it better. Really nice fat new frets. Replace tuning keys. Replace nut. It's actually a compensated nut too, which is kind of cool. And it's pretty hammered too. But it has a super wide flat neck, which I really like. A lot of SGs have thin necks. This is super wide. It's not totally flat. It has a nice, taper to it. It's got a super fat heel, and that feels good too. And I think what that does keeps it from going out of tune, because some SGs, you can bend them so easily, they don't stay in tune. I love this guitar, but it fights me a little bit. It has 10s on it. The action is not super low. It's not a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. It turns me into a different player because it fights me a little bit. And that actually can be a good thing. At any level, beginner, intermediate, pro, you can get a good sound out of it, and you can almost become a strong character even with limitations. And I wouldn't say that's true about the violin. It's
yeah.
The guitar is you can be sloppy on the guitar, and you can sound like, he sounds like Keith Richards.
Yeah. There's that wiggle room, and that's what it's. I was just talking to Bukovac about that. I was saying, he was saying, like, once you learn how to be this clean guitar player, it's so hard to unlearn it, to go back to that, like, that rock like side of stuff, or you want to add this noise, and it's like you can't anymore, and you're like, what's wrong with my hands?
It's true. That's been one of the biggest drawbacks for me of making a living as a studio guitar player is too much polish. But it's okay. It's okay. I can. Like I said, the secret for me is pick up a guitar that's hard to play. Then I can become that guy.
Yeah.
It's works every time. So that was the Rick Springfield song I did a few weeks ago. This is my Tom Anderson Raven. Cool looking guitar. When I got this, he gave me the choice between this one and one with a longer scale. So even though this is a Fender style construction, this has more of a Gibson scale. This is a short scale, so it's actually easier for me to get around on. Plus, I think it looks really cool. The vibrato is really spongy. The pickups sound great. And another dream guitar. Okay, so Robert, I heard through the grapevine, or I saw somewhere, I think you have a brand new vintage guitar.
I do.
Dream vintage guitar.
Yeah, where's it at? No, it's oh my god, it's right here. Yeah, this was like a big goal of mine this year. But when it came to a Telly, I'm like, I don't even want a neck pickup on it. I just want the bridge pickup. So then it was like an Esquire seemed to be like the perfect Telly for me. The perfect Telly is not a Telly. It's those low notes. It just.
Well, what year is your Esquire?
So this one's a 58.
And now, is a 58 Esquire less expensive than a 58 Telecaster?
Yeah, basically. Okay. And kind of like, how you go about things. Like I never, I always say, I can't afford real paint or anything like that. So like all the, like, my guitars have been refinished, and I was looking at different Tellys or Esquires, and then I was just like, man, everyone I talk to, my buddies who own old Esquires and stuff, they're like, dude, you got to get maple neck. Don't go rosewood. I'm like, I know. When I picture a Telly, I either picture a black guard or a white guard with a maple neck. So it was just like, I got to do this one, and I love it. It's kind of the guitar I can't put down. Like, it just has. I've never had a guitar ring the way, like, it's so loud. I mean, it just, it's so, yeah. I'm like, I've never experienced a guitar, the way it shakes and everything. I'm like, this is crazy. So my wife has to hear about it all the time. But
well, I went through this conversation with Phil X because he always takes the neck pickup out. And so we were talking about it, and I know that there is a tonal quality in a guitar when it's just wood in this spot. So that's probably part of it. Probably why it rings the way it does is because it's just all wood up here to the neck.
To me, it's really fascinating, like with the older guitars, because like inside of the guitar is someone's name. Like even though they refinished the body, they preserved like the body date, neck date, and there's like a name of someone who worked on the guitar. I'm like, that's like, to me, that's the coolest thing ever. Just I can't help but like wonder, like, where's this guitar been? Like, well, what's it done?
Is there anything you would change about it?
No, like I said, and it has the original frets on it, which are not worn out. Like whoever had it, it was like, total just cowboy chords, which.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I think you're a bold person to cowboy chords on an Esquire. Like, that, but it's, no, the frets, I mean, they're a little bit low down here, but up here, they're literally like new frets. So.
Awesome.
I'm like, I'll just leave it as it is.
Hi everybody, it's Paul Reed Smith. This is a save the date announcement. We are going to be doing with Maryland Hall, Tyler Larson, Tim Pierce, Dennis Chambers, the Granger brothers, me, and a bunch of other gifted musicians, a online music school, online summer camp, 4 days. It's only $100 for the whole thing. We'll all be teaching. It's going to be interactive. The registration is going to start on July 6th, but this is to save the date, August 10th through the 13th. It's not to be missed. We're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. Please put it on your calendar. See you. Bye.